Paris, France, August 1976, just before dawn. Here, filmmaker Claude Lelouch had a choice. Behind me, one of the most dangerous intersections in the city, the intersection of Rue de Rivoli and Rue de Rohan. As Lelouch entered this tunnel, 65 miles an hour, he had a choice: death or history. This is the true story of Rendezvous, the most famous street racing video of all time.
Rendezvous, the most important racing film of all time, the greatest love story ever told on film in cars of all time, the greatest street racing video of all time. And yet, it's almost impossible to find any real information about it. But Claude Lelouch, the creator of this video, did create several years ago a short documentary explaining how he did it. Unfortunately, it was in French. The full translation of that video, combined with all the information that can ever be known, has never been available until now.
And this is what it looked like that August morning in 1976, when Claude Lelouch made automotive viral video history, Rendezvous in Paris. Departing Porte Dauphine, heading towards Place de l'Étoile, the Arch of Triumph. This would be the first red light that he ran.
My effort to lap New York in record time was inspired by this. Everything I've ever done in a car was really inspired by this. And I've heard that exact phrase from almost everyone I've ever met who races a car or who drives a car fast. And certainly every viral video ever posted to YouTube of a guy hooning a car with a dash cam. It all came from this.
He used a Mercedes 450 SEL 6.9, which had a 3-speed automatic transmission, nothing like what you hear in the video, which allegedly was overdubbed with the audio of a Ferrari 275, which Lelouch also happened to own. But he used that Mercedes because it had a hydrodynamic suspension, similar to what a Citroën would have, for stability because of the camera he mounted on the front bumper. Here we have an unbelievable traffic event. A car stopped at almost a 90-degree angle to us.
If you haven't seen it, stop watching this video, look it up on YouTube, find the highest res version you can, and I'm not talking about the one with music behind it from some band that's ripping the video off. I'm talking about the original, whose audio is only the engine noise. Watch it. Then come back to this, where I think and I hope we'll be able to answer every question that we'll ever be able to answer about this, the holy grail of car videos.
We're now entering Place de l'Étoile, the Arch of Triumph, and we make a right turn down the Champs-Élysées. Heading down the Champs-Élysées towards the obelisk, which Napoleon borrowed or stole from Egypt, depending who you ask.
The obelisk, in fact, was stolen by Napoleon from Egypt and brought here, and that's not made up history.
Lelouch claimed to have gone as fast as 240 kilometers an hour, but fans have calculated that he went no more than 140 kilometers an hour.
Right off the bat, naysayers suggest this is fake because the audio doesn't quite match the video. The sound of brakes, the sound of shifting gears doesn't quite match what's happening on screen. The dive of the car, the squealing in turns don't quite match. They don't match because the audio is of a Ferrari. The video depicts a car that clearly is not a Ferrari. The car was in fact Lelouch's personal Mercedes 6.9. That it's so close and so few people believe that it's fake is the miracle. But to anyone who knows anything about driving, the audio is all wrong. Exciting, dramatic, but all wrong. Now there are rumors that Jackie X or another French F1 driver drove the car. Not true. Lelouch drove the car. In fact, there were 3 people in the car. And in answering one of the craziest unanswered questions, did have one other person on the ground helping him in a strategic spot, a spot we'll get to.
Here we approach the location of one of the most infamous fake audio overdubs of Rendezvous as we make a very high-speed, well, we're going to make a slower than Lelouch high-speed turn right and head towards the Louvre. Amazingly, although we've stopped at every light and we're not going that quickly, we've probably already committed about 5 speeding offenses, very modest ones by Paris standards. I'm absolutely dying to run these lights given how little traffic there is, but JF won't let me. I would never do that, of course. I'm just saying that's pure cool and tough. This is the end of the classic Rendezvous route, because from here on, several streets Lelouch took have reversed direction and become one-way streets. The northbound Louvre tunnel pass-through, where they built the controversial pyramid within the Louvre courtyard. We will have to route around it as closely as possible by straddling the perimeter of the Louvre, then retaking the original route northbound. Now, racing along the Seine, approaching the Louvre, we approach the most dangerous point of the drive. Well, dangerous among many. Say it's a 10 on a scale of averages of, say, 9.7 for everything else he did. He makes a left turn through a tunnel and enters the Louvre courtyard, where later they'd erect the controversial pyramid. He approaches the north side courtyard tunnel, accelerating. This is why people think this is fake. What kind of madman would accelerate through a tunnel, the blind exit, unless it was fake or he had a spotter with a radio waiting to give him confirmation that it was clear? Of course, he had foolishly instructed the spotter only to contact him if there was a car oncoming. He should have done it, as per the military and NASA rules, the opposite way. Because the radio failed, he accelerated and exited safely. Very lucky. There just happened to be no cars heading perpendicular. This is where Lelouch made his first really questionable pass in a family of what could only be called really unbelievably questionable passes, really bad passes. Unbelievably, even though we're obeying all traffic laws and being really perfect gentlemen, I'm a little bit out of breath. I genuinely feel that desire to get on it. That same desire Lelouch must have felt every day of his life until the day he actually turned on the camera and shot this video, which is so legendary. How about that move? That's how nervous I am.
No reason to be nervous.
And I haven't done anything wrong. Honestly, I can't really be calm, given that we're replicating. It's literally like being on the Daytona course and not being allowed to drive on it at speed. Unbelievable. Such unsafe driving from some Parisians. Who would think? We're now picking up the correct course and heading towards Opéra. It's really hard to do this at this hour and not feel that desire to get on it. I mean, JF, I'm sure you understand. We're now passing the intersection where Lelouch came up upon a bus in the left lane and went against head-on traffic and through the light.
The second street, whose direction was changed, is at the Galerie Lafayette, where unfortunately we had to reroute left of the most famous department store in Paris, as opposed to between the two buildings.
If I were Lelouch, I'd be wondering whether I've just finished the hardest part or we're starting it. Up until this point, he's had 3-4 long straightaways, running a lot of lights with the likelihood of traffic hitting him perpendicular at high speed. Now, we're on narrow streets heading into the north part of the city. This is where he got flashed by a car which would have hit him head on had he arrived 15 seconds later. Up ahead, where he encountered the garbage truck and the woman walking her dog. In the distance, you can see the finish line. Sacré-Cœur, Montmartre.
It doesn't take Ralph Nader to know that running a red light with the possibility of perpendicular traffic is a bad idea. But there's another school of thought which I did consider when I was going around Manhattan, which is the quicker you pass through an intersection, the less time you're exposed to perpendicular traffic. People often ask if this could be done today. Well, maybe close. We have the reverse street directions. But of course, Paris is unique among all cities in that everyone has a month off in August. So, in theory, as long as the French political system maintains the August vacation month, It might be possible, but this isn't something that I would try. Or at least if I had or did, I wouldn't say so yet.
Even now, just after dawn, the streets are filled with people, even standing in the sidewalk. I cannot describe my stress and desire to get on it the way Lelouch did. This is where Lelouch almost hit his last pedestrian. He made the turn to head north, past the cemetery of Montmartre, and up towards Sacré-Cœur, the final stage in his journey. That was a near Lelouch moment. Here, where I'm kindly stopping as per French traffic law, is where Lelouch almost hit a little car heading perpendicular from right to left, right in front of him.
Watch it 3 times. It was very, very close.
Approaching one of the most dramatic and sharp right turns where Lelouch nearly massacred a flock of birds. And onto the cobblestone streets of Montmartre, where the hydrodynamic suspension would have helped enormously in getting the footage, the stables Lelouch wanted. And now, the final stretch. And the finish line, slightly blocked off. We'll do our best to see it as Lelouch did.
He pulls up to the steps. The car stops. Once again, the sound doesn't sync. The driver gets out, and a gorgeous blonde walks up the steps. And this is the reason he did this. He told this woman, Gunilla Frinden, Miss Sweden 1967, he'd be there within 10 minutes. Lelouch made racing film history, street racing history, viral video history, and created the holy grail of car racing videos.
I'm trying to get the. Why do you have? Is this cat hair?
It's from my. I told you I had no clean clothes. You didn't believe me. I've always wanted to slap my chest. My jiggly chest. Are you taping? Stop it. No, I want to have a dirty shirt.
This is disgusting.
But you
Let me clean the fucking
No,
shirt.
you're making me feel gay. I mean, you like how JF just ignores the realities. Oh, clean clothes, you won't need those.
Wait, JF ignored it or?
Yeah, I told him. Last time I tried to buy a shirt, it was gonna be like 100 euros. He's like, nah. Do I look like a man tits? You see my man boob? Do you? Do you see my man boob? Do you?
No, the belt is covering it.
That's good.
On one side.
What about this side?